So given that we are less than a week away from their all-out pay-per-view in Chicago, which is this upcoming Saturday, now would be a good time to run down the card and give my predictions. Unfortunately, we have to start with some terrible news a week out from the show, and that is that one half of the co-main event is now off the show completely. Jon Moxley was scheduled to wrestle Kenny Omega, stemming from the angle they did at Double or Nothing back in May, where Moxley debuted, he came out of the crowd, and he attacked Kenny Omega after his loss to Chris Jericho. And he attacked Jericho too, but he went after Omega, or Omega went after him. They were brawling. He gave Omega a double-arm DDT, face first, onto a tower of giant poker chips. Moxley went on to win the U.S. title from Juice Robinson in New Japan. He competed in his first G1 Climax, so he was the toast of the town this summer. It was all about Moxley. His name was hotter than it had been in years, and he was having a lot of success. And then he suffered an injury during the G1. This is not Moxley's first battle with this type of injury. It was said to be some kind of elbow injury. Unfortunately, it got infected. And what he is really battling right now is a staph infection. And this is not his first battle with MRSA, because after he had surgery for his torn triceps last year, he had to get a second surgery. This is why he was out for 9 months. He had to have a second surgery to clean out a staph infection in his arm that almost killed him. He said he almost died from that injury. MRSA is nothing to mess around with. You know, when I had him on the podcast many years ago, Bob Holly talked about how he almost lost his arm to a MRSA infection. Surgery didn't work. They had to put him on this last resort medication. I think it was vancomycin or something. That's considered the last resort. If that doesn't work, that ain't good news. Thankfully, in his case, it worked. Otherwise, they were going to have to amputate his arm from the shoulder down. All because John Laurinaitis said no hospital when Holly was complaining about not feeling well and there's something wrong. And, they were about to go on this overseas tour, I think, to Europe. And Laurinaitis insisted that he go. You'll get it checked out when you get back. And you've got to go on the overseas tour because we need you. We need you on the overseas tour. So he goes on the overseas tour, and what happens? They proceed to put him in a battle royal every single night. Yeah, wow, they sure needed him. Thankfully, AEW is handling the situation a lot better than WWE did with Bob Holly. So he's been hurt for a few weeks now. Moxley insisted on wrestling Pentagon. He was scheduled for an independent wrestling match against Pentagon Jr. This was, I think, last week. He insisted on doing the match. He took no bumps on the elbow. On Friday, he took to his Twitter page. Word was starting to leak out. And he did something I think that was very smart and I'd like to see more wrestlers doing to cut down on the rumors and the BS, especially when it comes to their health. You know, if they just want to nip it in the bud. He went on Twitter and he made the announcement himself. He said, "I'm absolutely gutted to have to deliver the news, but I'd rather it come directly from me. In a nightmare scenario, a serious case of MRSA has returned in my elbow. Timing could not be worse. In this circumstance, I am forced to..." And this doesn't sound like Moxley. This is Moxley's person writing this. This just doesn't sound like Moxley. But anyway, in this circumstance, I am forced to pull out of the fight 8:31 against Kenny Omega at All Out. I apologize to all involved, most importantly the fans. I am incredibly frustrated and pissed off. I'll have surgery this week to remove the bursa sac in my elbow and be done with it for good. Should be a quick recovery, so I will be 100% for AEW Wednesday nights on TNT. Still, I expect All Out to be an amazing pay-per-view and hope the fans looking for an alternative will tune in. You will be blown away by AEW and be excited to be a wrestling fan. I am looking forward to watching as a fan myself. And then he ended with this, and this definitely sounds like Moxley. He says, "This fucking sucks." Doesn't get much more blunt than that. And the dude's health is the most important thing right now, and getting that taken care of, because like I said, that's nothing to play around with. So hopefully he gets better soon. If everything goes well, supposedly his doctor told him he'll be back in 4 weeks, which would be just in time for AEW on TNT. Let us hope that he can stick to that schedule because that's a big bullet in the chamber that they have going into their TV debut. Moxley is one of the biggest names that they've signed. And he can still do stuff. If he can't get physical for a while and he can't wrestle, doesn't mean he can't be on TV. Unless he can't travel for some reason. He can certainly, he's got that personality where you can have him raising hell and causing havoc on TV even if he's not wrestling. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if, he couldn't get back in the ring right away. But hopefully that'll be taken care of quickly. AEW wasted no time in announcing a more than suitable replacement for Kenny Omega's opponent at the pay-per-view. Now, this person was supposedly scheduled to make a surprise appearance on the show anyway, but now he will be wrestling Kenny Omega, and that is Pac. Pac was originally scheduled to wrestle Hangman Page at Double or Nothing. Depending on who you believe, it was either a visa issue that prevented him from coming in for the show, or, more likely, it was a case where there were issues with him being the Dragon Gate champion and him not wanting to lose. He's very protective of them. He's got a loyalty to Dragon Gate. It's the first place where he reemerged after he left WWE. Like I said, he's very loyal to them and very much a fan of the promotion. And anyway, he has since lost the Dragon Gate Championship. He is no longer the champion. I guess he didn't want to lose and besmirch the title. Well, he's lost the title. So he is free and clear now to lose whoever they want him to lose to, if that's the outcome of the match. So whatever it was, that issue has been resolved, and he will be in Chicago. And I will say, I am as amped up for this match, if not more so, than I was even for Moxley and Omega. Omega and Pac sounds like a killer match, and now they can save Omega and Moxley for TNT if they want to. Blow it out with a big TV main event on week 1, week 2, whichever week they want to do it. People are going to want to hopefully now see that match even more. Now, Pac has not been spared from injury either. He got hurt a few weeks ago. Pretty gruesome one if you saw the photo. It happened during an indie match in the UK at the beginning of the month. It looked like he had a hole in his leg, on his left thigh. There was this nasty, I call it a hole. It's a gash, I guess, but it's just this hole in his leg. I don't know how that happened. And I don't really care to go back and look at the photo again. But when I looked at the photo, I swear I saw bone sticking out. It was disgusting. So I take it they stitched him up, and he's fine now if he's going to be wrestling. But that did not look like a fun injury at all. So hopefully that doesn't affect him in the match. So that's the update on the Moxley situation. That news came late in the afternoon on Friday. Later that night, at a big-time wrestling show in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, a show where Scott Steiner became their new heavyweight champion, Pentagon and Phoenix, the Lucha Bros, were wrestling. They were wrestling, well, how about this for a team? They were wrestling Juventud Guerrera and Teddy Hart. Phoenix super kicked Teddy Hart. He went to go pick up Juventud, and I guess his leg just buckled. He collapsed to the mat. He immediately grabbed his leg. He waved for help. They helped him to the back. Hoovy pinned Pentagon quickly. Pentagon rushed to the back to be with his brother and check up on him. There was a fear initially he may have broken his leg. Even Taya, I guess Taya was, I don't know if she was at the show, but she tweeted out, "Thank God, not a broken leg. I'm told he's okay. He's going to be fine." But there was a real fear that he may have broken his leg. Thankfully, he did not. And I believe he actually wrestled for them again last night. I actually didn't check the results, but I believe he was supposed to be back in the ring wrestling for them again last night. I didn't hear that he had any injury issues, so hopefully everything went well, and he seems to be okay. He should be fine for the pay-per-view next weekend. But for a while there was a bit of a scare. Like, what the hell's going on here? It comes in threes. First Moxley, and then Phoenix. Who's next? Marco stunt. I saw that stupid stunt where he jumped off a basketball rim in some gymnasium in front of 200 people. I mean, I guess he's not scheduled to be on the pay-per-view next weekend unless they put him in a match at the last minute, but that seemed awfully stupid for him to be doing. But, Phoenix, he's in a ladder match next weekend. Ladder matches involve a lot of climbing. And in the case of Phoenix, I'm sure jumping from great heights and doing batshit crazy moves. So that was another scary situation that looks to have been averted. Let's run through the card here. I'll give my predictions. We have the buy-in pre-show with 2 matches. We have Private Party taking on Jack Evans and Angelico. It'll be all action, given who's involved. I'm not even going to bother trying to keep track of all the moves, but I predict a Private Party win. Going with Private Party to give them some momentum going into their tag team tournament match against the Young Bucks in week 2 of the TNT show. So I think you give them a win heading into... I mean, it's early to make predictions on that, I guess, but I would imagine that the Bucks probably go over on Private Party on TNT, but you never know. You never know. And we also have a 21-woman casino battle royale to crown one of 2 number 1 contenders to compete for the AEW Women's Championship, which will be decided on the first TNT show on October 2nd. So announced so far, I'm recording this on Sunday morning. As I am recording this, the names that have been announced so far, there'll be more during the week, are Jazz, Ivelisse, Brandy Rhodes, Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, Ali, Yuka Sakazaki, Teal Piper, the daughter of Rowdy Roddy Piper, Sadie Gibbs, and Ariel Monroe, who competed in the Mae Young Classic. Teal Piper, by the way, has signed on with WOW, the Women of Wrestling promotion. So she's doing the Battle Royal at the AEW show, but she's actually signed on with WOW. Do they call themselves WOW? Just WOW, right? They just call themselves WOW? That sounded weird. WOW. That's like me saying OMG. You wouldn't say that out loud because you'd sound like a douche. Anyway, so that leaves 11 more spots to be filled. Taylor Hendricks was teasing something on her social media. She may possibly end up getting one of those spots. Kylie Ray. Kylie Ray has been... She was on the first 1 or 2 AEW shows. She would come out. She almost came off as like their version of Bayley, right? She came out, she looked lovable and had a big smile on her face, and you know, she's a good wrestler, but she has disappeared off the face of the earth, and I there's something going on with her. I hope it's nothing too serious. It's a personal matter. I don't know if that's a medical thing. I don't know if there's something going on in her life that may be more important than wrestling right now. I mean, her Twitter's disappeared. Her Twitter's been gone now for a few weeks. And nobody seems to know what's going on with her. So I would take that to mean that it's a personal thing. And it would be nice to see her back here because that means everything's okay. So hopefully everything is okay. Who else here? I would think Awesome Kong and Aja Kong may occupy 2 more spots given their face-off at the Fight for the Fallen show. I don't know if Aja Kong is being flown in for this or not. You know, it's hard to predict a match with 21 different people in it, especially when you literally don't know half of them. We still have half the spots unfilled in this match. So I'll give an early prediction on who I think is going to win. Britt Baker has been pushed very hard as one of the stars of the division. And they've had some media events, and they've sent out people like Cody and the Bucks, and Britt Baker was there with them. You know, so clearly they see her as being one of the centerpieces of their women's division. I'm going to go with Britt Baker to win the Battle Royal and get one of the spots to compete for the first ever AEW women's title. Awesome Kong, by the way, I mentioned her a moment ago. Awesome Kong is great on season 3 of Glow on Netflix. I'm all caught up now on all 3 seasons. I love the most recent season. I saw one person was like, there's very little wrestling. They didn't think this season was good because there was very little actual wrestling. It's not a wrestling show. It's a show about wrestling, but it's a show about relationships and stuff. Wrestling is just sort of the backdrop. Nobody's watching Glow to see great wrestling matches. So that's not how you should judge the show. You know, it's just kind of weird to see people complaining about it. I was hoping to see more wrestling on the show. It just, I don't know. It just seems like a weird criticism to me. I thought the show was great, and I think she's one of the highlights of it. Now, on the main card, we've got Hikaru Shida against Riho, 2 popular Joshi wrestlers. Shida and Riho were tag team partners in a Joshi Trios match at Double or Nothing. Shida picked up the win for her team. Here, they find themselves on opposite sides of the ring. I know AEW, especially Kenny Omega, is very high on the female talent from Japan. And I'm sure he was a big advocate for wanting to bring them into the company in the first place. And it's not hard to see why, especially if you watch that trios match in May. These women are really good. And I think Riho is going to pick up the win this time. I'm picking her to win. And it would make sense for the winner of this match, and they haven't said anything about this, so I don't quote me on this as a fact, but it would seem to make sense to me. You've got the winner of the Battle Royal becoming a number one contender, that the winner of this match would become the other number one contender and would meet the winner of the Battle Royal on TNT to crown the first AEW Women's Champion. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that would seem to me to make sense. We've got the Dark Order against the Best Friends, Chucky T and Trent Beretta, with the winners getting a first-round bye in the tag team title tournament. I mean, that's got to be the heels, I would think. Isn't that usually a heel gimmick, right? The heels get the bye, they get the easy trip into the next round, make the baby faces fight for it. We first saw the Dark Order show up at Double or Nothing. They attacked T and Beretta. And then at the Fight for the Fallen show, the Dark Order won a three-way over Angelico and Jack Evans and Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. So I'm picking the Dark Order to win. They get the bye into the next round. Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, and Darby Allin in a triple threat match. All I know is, in a triple threat match, there are no disqualifications, which means this match is going to get very crazy very quickly. So take your pick on which lunatic is going to win. I'm picking Joey Janela. Cody takes on Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard in his corner. It all boils down, as I see it, to whether or not they want this to continue beyond All Out. I think they do. I think they could keep this going for a while. And I think Shawn Spears gets the win here. I predict a Shawn Spears victory. I think he should get the win. And I would love it, and I don't even know if this is possible, but I spitball this out there. I would love it if Cody were to bring out Arn Anderson in his corner as a surprise to counteract Tully Blanchard being in the corner of Shawn Spears. But then, as we approach the end of the match, Arn screws Cody, maybe even lays him out with a spine buster. He screws over Cody Rhodes and helps give the win to Shawn Spears, because the Horsemen will always fuck over the Rhodes family. You've got to keep that tradition going. Horsemen reunite. But again, I don't know. Arn Anderson has said he's got a severance package with WWE. He can't say anything, go anywhere, do anything until that's run out. And supposedly that will not run out or expire until after All Out. Whether it's September or October, I don't know. So unfortunately, it just may not logistically even be possible. But damn, I would love for that. Now, I've kind of talked it into my head now, where if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be disappointed. But that's my dumb fault for even thinking about it. But what a great moment that would be. Arn comes out. It's like Jim Neidhart. Bret Hart had Jim Neidhart in his corner, brought him back at the King of the Ring in '94. And they did this whole elaborate swerve where, in the end, Anvil only came back for Owen. He didn't come back for Bret. He just wanted to see Owen beat Bret to win the championship. It's not like we haven't seen the Horsemen swerve people. And, they did it with Sting. And, again, they were a thorn in Dusty's side for so long. Have Arn come out and then turn on Cody and reunite here with Tully and Spears. That'd be pretty cool. So then we get the ladder match for the AAA Tag Team titles with the Lucha Bros, Pentagon and Phoenix defending against the Young Bucks. The Bucks beat the Lucha Bros at Double or Nothing. They beat them again in a six-man tag at Fyter Fest. Pentagon and Phoenix won back the AAA Tag Team titles in Mexico. I hope Phoenix is good to go, because he's going to do something crazy, and he may not be. He may not be good to go when this match is over. I think the Lucha Bros blow this thing off with a win over the Bucks, and they retain their AAA Tag Team titles. Then we have Kenny Omega. I wrote Penny Omega in my notes here. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Maybe Penny is his bizarro twin sister who hates video games. Kenny Omega against Pac, replacing the staph-infected Jon Moxley. Omega lost to Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing. He then beat Shima at the was it Fyter Fest or Fight for the Fallen? These shows kind of all run together. Might have been Fight for the Fallen, but he beat Shima in his last match. Because of my prediction for the main event, which I'll get to here in a second, I think Kenny Omega wins this match. We also, by the way, we don't know if Pac is in for good or if he's only in for this one match. So, even more so, if he's only in for the one match, I don't see him winning here. So I'm picking Kenny Omega to get the win. I think because he will be positioned first in line for a shot at the AEW World title. So, yes, it is Pac's first AEW match, but I think he loses. And this may be the match I'm honestly looking forward to the most on the show. You know, with the replacement in there against Kenny Omega, I just think this is going to be a killer match. You know, AEW did a hell of a job turning a negative into a positive with this booking. Which leads us to Chris Jericho, taking on Hangman Adam Page to crown the first ever AEW World Champion. Adam Page did a sit-down interview, and they aired at least snippets of it during episode 7 of their Road to All Out series, which has been very well produced. They did this for Double or Nothing. You know, the stuff and the features that they put together on their YouTube channel so far have been top-notch. And I've said that before, and they deserve a lot of praise for it. Because I think it really helps, especially going into a big event like this. They don't have TV. They have to lean on and rely on that YouTube channel to get everybody caught up on storylines. And, you know, if this guy's going to cut a promo on this guy, where's it going to air, right? If not for the YouTube channel. So they've done a good job before the TNT debut in making that YouTube channel a very important tool in promoting these shows. And the Road to All Out series is part of that. And on episode 7, he sat down, Page did, with JR. And he did an interview that was eerily similar to another sit-down interview that Jim Ross conducted many, many years ago, 18 years ago, with Stone Cold and The Rock, leading up to WrestleMania 17. This is before Austin turned heel and won the championship at WrestleMania. Much like Austin, in that interview here, Hangman said over and over, he looked dead at Jim Ross, and he said over and over, I need to win this. I have to win this. And just the way he said it reminded me of Austin in that interview all those years ago. Now, I'm not saying Hangman now has to go heel, just like Austin did, but he's got friends, right? He's got the Elite. Maybe he gets some help. I just think it throws an interesting little wrinkle into things when trying to predict a winner here. And if you didn't see it, by the way, go back and watch it because, you know, it's one of the best interviews that Hangman has done. You know, when Hangman came out as a surprise at the House of Glory show in New York a few weeks ago, you know, when I was there at ringside and his music hit and he came out and the place exploded and he got in the ring at the HOG show and he cut a promo. And I'm listening to him speak in front of this crowd that's going nuts for him. And, you know, yeah, it's not 10,000 people. But he came off like a total superstar. If he can channel that aura and that could, you know, kind of transfer its way over to TV, you know, he could be one of the bigger stars that they have on that roster. Just watching those last couple of promos I've seen him do, he's got it in him. He's not a bad promo at all. He can speak. You know, and he's got that fire. But with Jericho beating Omega at Double or Nothing, you know, I think Chris Jericho wins. I think Chris Jericho wins the AEW Championship. And Kenny Omega then gets his shot at redemption, eventually getting his win back. And being the one to then take the title, when, I don't know, but being the one to take the title from Chris Jericho. But Jericho first has to win the title to then lose it later on. So I think Jericho becomes the first champion. Adam Page is good. He's very good. But I just think it's too soon for that big crowning moment. You know, Jericho, look, win or lose, Jericho loses nothing. He's Teflon. Hangman could be a made man in one night. You know, I get that. And then you could do the big pyro and confetti celebration to end the show on a happy note heading into TV. But I would put the title on Chris Jericho. I think it's the right move to make. And actually, we do know when the first AEW title defense is going to be. They've already announced it will take place on episode 3 on TNT on October 16th. So we actually do already have a date for that first title defense. Could they do Jericho and Omega on that show with some kind of a screwy finish and then lead to one more match, maybe where they change the title in December? Are they doing a pay-per-view in December? I'm not even sure. I thought maybe they would be. I guess we'll see. So there's one other question lingering over the show. Will CM Punk make an appearance? If you put me on the spot and you ask me the question, do I think we see CM Punk on the show on Saturday? My answer is no. I do not believe we will see CM Punk on this pay-per-view. Obviously, he's going to be in Chicago. I mean, he lives in Chicago. I think he lives in Chicago still. I know for a while when he was training, I think he was basically living in a different state. But he is Chicago-based, and he will be at StarCast next weekend. We know that. But I don't believe that there is some sort of secret deal that's been negotiated that they're keeping under wraps. It would be huge for them if they could pull it off, especially, heading into TV. Boy, it would sure be good for them to have CM Punk in their stable. But my prediction is no. There will be no CM Punk. And I agree, some people have said publicly that if you just kind of go into the show and you base everything around Punk is going to be a surprise, he's going to come out and he's going to, attack somebody or do something, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Don't do that. It's like me with the Arn Anderson thing in the Cody match. Don't do that. Don't set yourself up for something that probably has very little chance of actually happening.